I want to give a big thank you to Resident Evil 2 Remake for sponsoring this video. What's going on, everybody? I'm John Rettinger from, I guess, just like here now. And one of the things I used to love to do was reviewing laptops and computers in general, and I haven't done one in a while. And if you remember the last time I did that, let's just say it pissed a bunch of people off. And if having kids has taught me anything, it's that people get upset way too easily, and sometimes you just need a snack. So let me give you a juice box, and let's take a look at the latest from Razer, the Razer Blade Stealth. So I've been kind of crushing on PCs for a while, ever since I started reviewing the Huawei MateBook X as my home computer. But since, in all honesty, I got the attention span of a puppy, I'm always looking for something new. So what's up, new hotness? So 2019 Razer Blade Stealth is one of the beast modiest ultrabooks you'll find. It's got an all-new design, latest and greatest Intel processor, and even a discrete GPU, all packed into a really small, ultra lightweight package. It's got almost all the tech, bells and whistles you can ask for, but are said bells and whistles enough to justify its $1,400 starting price tag? And also, more importantly, who wants whistles on a laptop? Stupid analogies aside though, the new Blade Stealth is absolutely 100% definitely, beyond a doubt, mostly worth it. So I tend to test computers like in the real world, not like synthetically with benchmarks. I test them exactly how I use them. So at the office, it's lighter stuff like Slack, Google Docs, Rams highlights, Anthony Davis to the Lakers rumors on Chrome. I don't game that much, but I am at home and the kids are asleep. I do occasionally like to fire up Steam and play some games, so that's what I did here with the Razer Blade Stealth. So pricing is not cheap, but it's also not like crazy insane either. There is a $500 difference, so $1,400 to about $1,900 from the entry level with integrated graphics to the max spec'd out with the 4K touchscreen and the MX150 GPU. So Razer is super quick to point out that this is definitely not a full-fledged gaming laptop. You probably want at the very least a 15-inch blade for that. But this little ultrabook does pack quite a punch, but we'll get to more on that in a minute. We've got the mid-tier Blade Stealth here, and it's $1,600. It's a price tag that definitely warrants some research and due diligence before you pick one up. For that kind of money though, you are getting some pretty impressive, at least ultrabook specs. You're getting the latest Whiskey Lake i7 quad-core processor, 16 gigs of RAM, 256 gig M.2 SSD, and then the NVIDIA MX150 dedicated GPU. I just like calling them GPUs. Razer's been making some awesome looking laptops for a long time, and I've pretty much been a fan of the design and build since they started. The quality of the Razer products, especially their laptops, and the new Stealth here kind of raises that delicious sounding Razer bar. It's got a new design that's pretty much a pared down version of the larger 15-inch blade, and that's not a bad thing. The Stealth is a little bit more blocky with the all aluminum design. That does feel incredibly premium, and you kind of want that if you're shelling out, $1,500–1,600 for the computer. The entire laptop is also fairly small and surprisingly light, weighing in at just under 3 pounds. It's easy to throw in a backpack or carry around without ever really worried about getting sort of marks on your shoulders. So I've been a little tough on Razer in the past for shipping just gigantic power bricks with their computers, but I do want to give them credit. They are charging this guy via USB Type-C, and the power brick is super tiny. So if you want some USB-C charging, you're good. You could expect some pretty awesome battery life too. On a typical day with some mixed use of like web browsing, video streaming, I found I could easily get over a full 8 hours of use. And speaking of things that finally made their way to Razer laptops, Windows Hello is here. So on the plus side, I love how fast and convenient it is to just unlock your computer with your face. What I don't love though is that potato quality webcam. But at least it's above the display and not looking directly up my nose. Looking at you, Dell and Huawei. The display on the new Stealth is also pretty impressive. So this 1080p model gets up to 400 nits of brightness, which is very noticeable, especially when you're outside in direct sunlight, and special improvement over the previous Stealth. So underneath the matte finish is a pretty good HD panel. Colors look bold enough and vivid. It's got good viewing angles, and even the hinge the whole assembly sits on seems to be smoother and just more refined than the last gen. You can also option this machine up if you want with the 4K touch display, but I've got no issues here telling you to save your money and go with 1080p. Better battery life, but if you do miss that touchscreen, you got an option. So mostly everything with the Blade Stealth is candy canes and rainbow, but it isn't perfect. And probably my biggest issue with the new model really comes down to the keyboard. I've typically in the past loved the keyboards on Razer laptops. They're spacious, tactile, and generally pretty comfortable. But this one, I just like couldn't bring myself to love even after the 2 weeks of usage. And this is ultimately gonna come down to personal preference, but I found the key travel to be a bit shallow, and because the whole machine lost about 1.5 inches of width in the redesign, some of the keys are just condensed to fit in the new design, making the entire keyboard just feel a little bit too cramped for my finger taste. This is like definitely a small annoyance and 100% subjective, and one you might not have at all. The keyboard though, if you get past that, is really well built. And I think ditching individual backlighting for one large single zone backlight was definitely the right move for Razer. I'm gonna throw my hands up for precision drivers. They are here, and the trackpad is still one of the best you can find on any Windows laptop. It's super spacious, even in this small body. And the speakers are surprisingly excellent for their size. It's actually 4 speakers out instead of the 2, and they get noticeably louder and sound better than the last gen Stealth. Although they do lack the fullness you typically get on larger laptop speakers, but I could easily watch YouTube videos, a movie, listen to some music, and not be bothered at all by it. So new Blade Stealth packs some pretty impressive power for its really tiny size. So it's got an i7 and 16 gigs of RAM. That's gonna give you some power to play with for things like mobile video editing and gaming. But for those of you who love benchmark tests, I'm gonna throw a bone your way. Here's some PC Mark and 3D Mark results for the new Stealth. So it's obviously not gonna be on the same power level as a full-fledged desktop replacement, or really blow anything out of the water, but this little Ultrabook can definitely hold its own when it comes to tasks like photo and video editing, especially considering its tiny size and comparing it to other Ultrabooks in that same class. The Stealth has a ton of I/O. So it's got a Thunderbolt 3 USB-C port, lets you harness the power of an external GPU if you like something like the Razer Core. Along with that port, you're also getting 2 USB Type-A ports, a headphone mic combo port, and then another non-Thunderbolt USB Type-C port. So you don't have to live the dongle life with the Razer Blade Stealth. So the optional MX150 GPU in our review unit's also gonna give you a decent amount of power to do some gaming on the go, just not gaming while you go. Sorry, poop joke. And I do want to give a big thank you here to Resident Evil 2 Remake for actually sponsoring this section of the Blade review. So I've actually been a huge Resident Evil fan. When Resident Evil 2 originally came out in 1998, it was probably the only game, at least at the time, that I remember playing after I beat it the first time. It probably boiled down to teenage me loved the idea of playing a game that absolutely terrified my sisters. So when I saw the trailer at E3 2018 for the Resident Evil 2 Remake, I was ready to put on my saggy jeans, play some Nirvana, get my late 90s game on. So the game does support onboard graphics and external GPUs, so we wanted to try both. So it's kind of cool playing the Resident Evil 2 Remake. The game looked very familiar and was terrifying with way better graphics. I still remember the jump scenes and I remember the cutscenes, like the truck driver at the beginning. That's really ingrained in my head. But seeing the remake and seeing what it looks like now with modern graphics was pretty awesome. So on normal, I was under about 30 frames per second when I wasn't moving. I dropped it down to essentially medium setting, and I was getting around 35 frames per second when playing. It was totally playable and looked awesome. That's probably the sweet spot if you want to get your Resident Evil 2 Remake on with the Razer Blade Stealth. So the Razer Blade Stealth has Thunderbolt 3, so we wanted to try it with an external GPU. So we plugged one in with a 1080, set the settings up to max, and we started getting almost double. We were getting over 60 frames per second when I was playing and moving. It absolutely looked awesome. The graphics here look incredible, as you'd expect for a game coming out in 2019. Modern graphics on a game this scary kind of make playing in the dark a bit more fun. So it's different gameplay than the original too. I really dug the new over-the-shoulder camera mode. I'm about halfway through playing the campaign as Police Officer Leon, which I think I like playing because it's my father-in-law's name, kind of made it extra fun. But you can also play the campaign as Claire, a college student, if that's your jam. If you guys remember the original game when it came out in '98 and maybe the remakes got you jamming for some nostalgia, or you never played it and just want to play a really good looking, terrifying game, we'll link to it down below so you can learn more, or if you want to buy it yourself, you can do that as well. So after 2 weeks of non-stop use, well, I guess stopping only to mourn the Ram's loss to the evil empire, I really do like the update to the Stealth, and I think it offers a lot to consider. Although I'm not a fan of the keyboard, you might be, and the updates and improvements to design and battery life and performance make this a case where the pros, I think, definitely outweigh the cons. It's expensive, there's kind of no doubt about that. For those who are willing to pay up for a lightweight laptop that packs some power, the Stealth is a small and mighty contender.